Lava-Jato and Trump, any similarity is not a coincidence. It may seem odd, but despite substantial differences in context, the so-called car wash, Lava-Jato, in Portuguese, operation in Brazil and President Donald Trump's administration in the U.S. present traits in common. Both threatened the fundamentals of long-established systems of power, and the end result of both is still quite uncertain. In Brazil, the car wash operation unmasks an old and shameless collusion between the political and certain segments of the business classes. Their filthy relationship is an inheritance from the patrimonialism of colonial times and its blurred distinction between public and private interests. As frequently parts of the judiciary and press took part in the game, impunity used to be assured to all. No major political party escaped disaster. The veracity for money of the soi-disant representatives of the people made bribes reach astronomical levels. Worst, the milking of state companies and budget resources became systematic, as shown by a directorship of Odebrecht, the country's larger contractor, named Structured Operations, structured meaning wheeler dealing. Politicians will do their very best to avoid change. Recorded conversations of a former House representative with top politicians show a packed information to diffuse Lava-Jato. Now, after the recent death, in a plane accident, of Justice Jorio Dauster, the name chosen by the government to replace him at the Supreme Court is a party member. Also, in the highest levels of Congress, the specter of an amnesty to benefit those who have received money as campaign contributions is being raised, whether the money had been stolen or not from public entities. In 3 years, Judge Sergio Moro got 82 convictions, including the CEOs of the most important Brazilian contractors. The Supreme Court, however, the only one with capacity to indict and convict congressmen and ministers, only made 3 denunciations and no condemnation. The sad end of Operation Manipulate, clean hands, in Italy may happen again in Brazil, with everything ending in a big pizza. Our only hope is that the dragon in streets continues awakened, fed by an indignant public opinion, the social media and a more combative press. Now we turn our focus to the President of the United States, Mr. Donald Trump, whose very special skills allowed him to go bankrupt 4 times and to enjoy income tax exemptions for 18 years. Now, using a powerful hammer called populism, he is simply trying to create havoc on the American establishment. William Jennings Bryan, who ran for president 3 times between 1896 and 1906, tried unsuccessfully to do the same. But, since then, no president, Republican or Democrat, was able to dismount the complex structures of power that in the U.S. link the vast interests of the political, financial and industrial sectors. The American establishment may have a dynastic component, as can be clearly seen in the political activism of families like the Bushes and Clintons, but the meritocratic character of the system is maintained, and the best brains make the rounds of government, Wall Street and the top universities, thus ensuring a relatively unified thinking and the consequent stability of the institutions. It is remarkable that in the U.S. the word establishment was widely employed in the recent presidential campaign as a way of stigmatizing the traditional power brokers. The main target of these attacks, including those made by Bernie Sanders, was Hillary Clinton. But it was Donald Trump who won the anti-establishment competition by posing as a defender of marginalized whites and vociferating against political elites, including the Republican Party itself, who was forced to swallow it, and the liberal media. For those who dismissed many of his words as mere campaign rhetoric, the choice of top aides in the early days in the White House began to show that there was a real threat to values and principles long regarded as untouchable in what is still the greatest world power. The violation of these values and principles will undermine the international order itself. How will the traditional system react to this onslaught of a still incalculable magnitude? At first glance, the deregulation of the oil and coal sectors, as well as tax benefits for the rich, could garner allies for Trump in corporate circles, while Congress, with both houses under Republican control, will not openly oppose the agenda of the new president. In these circumstances, the opposition will be left to the press, vilified daily by him, and public opinion, as was seen in the Women's March. However, deeper gears will begin to move if and when vital interests of the American nation are mortally threatened, and Donald Trump's administration will run the risk of being cut short. Opinion by Jorio Dauster to Brazil Monitor.